Hi, thanks for stopping by. Scott Martin from Bonsai Matsu. Today we're going to be going through the defoliation process. Got a few trees here to discuss today and work through. A nice Japanese maple and a few Trident maples at different stages. So there'll be complete defoliation, there'll be partial defoliation, there'll be area specific defoliation. So we're going to run through all those different things today. Just to give a time frame on where we're at to do this sort of work, for me, I like to do it towards the end of spring before summer comes in, so we can get another flush of growth. And the idea with the second flush of growth is to try and get smaller leaves on our trees, and also kickstart the trees again to grow again for a second time for the year so far. Another thing we want to do is, if you look at this Japanese maple, you'll see how quite thick and full the tree is. So by doing a partial defoliation on this tree, we're going to let the sunlight into those inner areas where the weaker buds are, and it'll encourage those or allow those buds to continue to grow. Because with our bonsai, they keep getting longer. The branches keep extending every year, so sooner or later we have to cut things back. Now, defoliation is one of those great techniques that we have as bonsai practitioners that allows us to encourage those inner buds and buds in further on the branches, so when we do have to cut back, we've got something that's alive and viable that allows us to maintain our shape, our structural integrity that we want, and to shorten the branches. So it's a really cool technique. It's great. It's something that shouldn't be automatically processed or automatically done without understanding your tree's strength and position that it's at, because it can be quite dangerous just to jump in and automatically defoliate every year. So we'll go through that now. Thanks for coming by. Okay, so first up, let's discuss this Japanese maple. Now, this maple has growth pattern in pairs of leaves. So there's always two leaves coming out of every branch at the tip of the branches. So what I do is I look to take off only one of every two leaves in the pair. So it's a partial defoliation. But by removing one leaf across the entire tree, it means that I'm going to 50% defoliate the tree. Now that means that 50% more light can get into those inner areas, which is more than enough. I find that full defoliation on Japanese maples can be really dangerous in that they may get dieback and not kick back and grow again like you'd expect. So you really need to understand your tree before you go and fully defoliate a Japanese maple. I'm not saying that you can't do it, but I just think that it's one of those things that can be very risky for a Japanese maple to be fully defoliated, especially every year. So just take precaution if you are going to do it. As I said, I only 50% defoliate, so partial defoliate my Japanese maples, and I'll go through the technique for that now. So again, which is pretty consistent, start at the top of the tree, the apex of the tree, and work your way down, because it's going to get a little bit messy. And what I look for with my pair of leaves is I look for the largest of the two or the damaged of the two. So if there's any leaf damage that you've got whatsoever, then you look to remove the damaged leaf. So by doing it, just simply cut it off like this. I don't tear these off, and I go through every pair and remove simply one. What I'll also try and do is have it that if I have a leaf pair side by side like this, then I'll look to remove, say, this one and this one to make sure that I've got plenty of space in between the leaves. So I try and make it that even though I am doing the partial defoliation, that I leave it so the silhouette still looks intact for the tree. So that's step one. Takes quite a while, so hopefully this gets sped up a little bit so you guys see it in fast time. So that's the first phase done. which is the partial defoliation, which is the 1 out of every 2. So a couple of things I wanted to just bring up was, if you come across a weaker area, then leave it alone. Don't defoliate it. Defoliation puts stress onto the tree, and if an area is struggling already, then you shouldn't be defoliating it. So, for instance, on this tree, there's a branch down the bottom here, which is obviously a lower branch, which is sheltered from upper areas, and it feels weaker. It doesn't look as strong. So this branch, for instance, has not been defoliated in the slightest. It's been left alone because I want to draw resources to that area. By defoliating, I'm taking resources away. By leaving it undefoliated, or as is, then it's going to get more resources to that area. So therefore, it's going to be a stronger branch overall. So you need to make sure that the tree is strong enough before you go and automatically do this sort of process. I'll stress that again because it's really important that you don't automatically get into the defoliation, because it's something that we can do. It's whether we should be doing it is the important part. So that's this one done for now. So the next part of the strategy with working on this tree at this time is to look for areas which are a little bit too long and have grown a little bit too strong as well. And what I'll do through this process is go through with the sharp scissors or the narrow bladed branch cutters and reduce those areas that have got too long and too strong around the tree. So that's the last part for this one before I move on. So that's it, job done for the year for now. I expect this one to go straight out onto the bench, back into a nice sunny position, and let those inner buds. As you can see, there's a lot more space in there now, a lot more light can get through. So I'm happy with that one. All right, next one. So the next tree is a Trident maple. This is one that I've grown from seed. It's been field grown as well. It's got a beautiful nabari, a lot of work done on that early years. And you'll notice it's got quite a large leaf. So this tree for me typically gets defoliated once or twice throughout the year as a result of its vigour, and also means that I can start reducing the leaf size from, say, something like this size to something like that size, which is far more in tune with where I'd like the tree to be and where it looks its best. So I'll go through and I'll do exactly the same process what I did last time with the leaf removal, using scissors on this one, and it'll be near enough to a complete defoliation, and I'll look for any longer branches along the way that can possibly be shortened as well. So let's get into it. This one will be a lot quicker than the last tree. Okay, so that one's ready to go. Prove the structure, shorten branches, made sure the internodes hadn't sort of pushed out too long if I'd missed any early on with pruning, like that one. And you'll notice there's a few leaves around the place, so they're more specifically for the weaker areas to ensure that I can still have resources go to those places. So again, even though it's, you start the process thinking it's going to be a complete defoliation, you just need to be ready to flex and change tact as you're assessing each of the areas of the tree. And it's really important that strength of the tree is your number one priority at all stages of your bonsai's development. So this is just another one of those things that you've just got to keep an eye on. So, all right, next one. Next tree is this Trident maple root over rock. Nice little tree. Still being developed in the structure at the top here. You'll see there's a few of the spears that are still sticking around. So it'll need to be pruned defoliated and given a quick once over while I'm working my way through the tree. And I'd expect this one will be relatively quick because it's strong, it's healthy, the leaf is really nice on it. So I'm going to open up. You can see it's got quite thick, and there's not much light can get into those areas anymore. So it's time to thin it out and start making some decisions. So I'll get into that one. But like I said, this one won't be an arduous task. It'll be relatively quick, and the defoliation process for this one too will be a lot more by hand as opposed to using scissors. So the technique for that is where you take the leaf with your thumb and forefinger and just pull it backwards. You've got to be careful when you do that process that you don't tear against the direction of growth. So you want to pull in the direction of growth, not tear against the direction of growth, because at the base of the leaf is a little dormant bud. That's what we want to kickstart with the defoliation process. So by pulling and tearing, you're going to be damaging that bud that's lying dormant at the moment. So I'll get into it, and you'll see this one pretty quickly change to where I want it to be at this point in its life. There we go. So that's pretty much a complete defoliation on this one. You'll notice there's one little branch that's been left alone purely because it's just a fresh little branch that's got not much vigor. So again, we'll leave that one alone, let that continue to grow. But the rest of it, I've really focused on looking for branches and areas that are too thick and pruning those back, because I want this to really get some really nice tight refined branches very close into the trunk, which it's starting to get now, and in a few years time it'll look even better. But anything that's too thick and too coarse at this point for this tree means that in a couple of years time it's going to be even thicker and even coarser, so I'm going to have to remove it then anyway. So may as well do it now. The last tree for this video is again another little Trident maple. This one's a little bit different though, in that it's got a really fine, delicate leaf, and I really like this tree. It's amazing autumn colour. So part of the reason for the defoliation now is to remove some of the older leaves that have hardened off, get a nice fresh flush of new growth, that by the time we get to the fall, the autumn season, it's going to be nice, beautiful coloured. I find that the older the leaves are on the tree, potentially the less colour that it gets when we get to that season. So I like to give this one a bit of a defoliation, maybe not complete. It'll be somewhere in between these guys and this one. And I have had a quick look at this tree, and I've noticed that the lower branches are a little bit on the weaker side than the apex. So again, this is where doing that strength assessment before you do anything with your bonsai is really super important, especially a task like defoliation. If you just went through automatically and said, I'm going to defoliate every single maple that I've got in my collection, then you might find that you slip backwards a little bit with your development of the trees, as opposed to maybe partial defoliation, or even in fact just leaving them alone for the year. You might find that you're going to get, by doing nothing at the right time of the year to allow their strength to increase and their vitality to increase, that it means that you can defoliate next year and the tree keeps progressing forward. That's what we want. We want that continual forward momentum with our development work on our trees. And automatically processing something just because we can might mean that process slows down. So I'll get into this one now, and we'll have a look at the result, and we'll compare the four trees. Okay, so this one's different from the other three that have been done. You'll notice that there's patchy leaves for want of a better description on this one, and that's in the weaker areas of the tree that I've left more leaf mass to draw resources to that area and not put that area under undue stress. Also worked a lot around the apex on some thicker areas, so it had become a bit unbalanced. The apex, the dominant area of the tree, has become too strong, and the weaker areas have become a bit too weak. So I've got to balance out those scales for the tree. So doing that, I need to make sure that I get it right, that the tree will bounce back accordingly. So don't put stress on weak areas. That's really simple philosophy to have. So we've had complete defoliations on these couple here. We'll pretty much complete on this one, complete on that one with one weaker branch being left alone. This one's had a partial defoliation with zones being left alone, so area specific defoliation on this one. And then the big Japanese maple was given the partial defoliation of a 50% reduction in leaf mass, where 1 out of every 2 was taken. On all 4 trees, I've used the time with them to get to look at their structure and reduce the thick branches back to fine delicate branches as part of my development process, and continuing the ramification of the tree. So that's it. That's defoliation. That's partial defoliation. That's where we're at with the trees this time of year. Again, it's late spring, heading into summer soon, and we're going to get another burst of growth on these trees. So it's going to be a good time. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for sticking around till the end. If you can give me a like, that'd be great. If you subscribe, that'd be awesome, so you can stay in touch, because there's a lot more on the cards for what we're doing here. So thanks, I appreciate it. Until next time, happy bonsai.